My parents took $12,000 I'd been saving for a down payment and gave it to my sister so she could travel before life gets serious. I didn't say anything until her going-away party. That's when I showed everyone the statement, and everything fell apart. I read it, using a throwaway for obvious reasons. This story still makes my hands shake when I think about it, but I need to get it out. I'm 28. For the past couple of years, I've been living with my parents while saving for a place of my own. I took a good job in town, worked long hours, barely spent a cent unless I had to. My focus was the down payment. I wasn't aiming for luxury, just independence. A quiet space, no roommates, no shared walls with paper-thin yelling behind them. I opened a separate savings account for the down payment. Every paycheck, I'd move over a chunk, sometimes more than I could really afford. My parents knew about it. I wasn't exactly broadcasting it, but they'd ask how my goals were going, and I'd tell them. Mom would smile and say I was the grounded one. Dad would nod like he approved. Meanwhile, my younger sister Lauren, 26, was always in some kind of crisis. She's charismatic, yes. The kind of person who walks into a room and suddenly everyone's looking her way. But she burns through jobs, burns through money, and somehow always lands back on her feet, usually at our parents' house, usually with some new excuse for why this time is different. I love her. I do. But there's always been this quiet understanding in our family: when she fails, someone else picks up the pieces. This time it was me. And I didn't even know it. I first noticed something was off about 3 weeks before everything blew up. I had been doing my usual Sunday night ritual, checking my accounts, tracking my progress, seeing how far I was from my goal. I had about $18,000 saved at that point, and I was hoping to hit 25 by fall. That night, though, the number on the screen didn't look right. Just over $6,000. I blinked, refreshed the page, checked the account number again. Same thing. At first, I panicked, thought maybe I'd been hacked. I clicked into the transaction history, ready to call the bank. That's when I saw it. 2 large transfers. One for $8,000. One for $4,000. Both were marked as external transfer authorized. Same day. Same account. But not by me. Now, here's where I should explain something. I'd opened that savings account at the same bank where my parents have been customers for years. When I opened it, the manager suggested I link it to our household's online banking to make transfers easier. It was a convenience thing. I never thought twice about it. Apparently, they did. I don't know what hit me harder, the fact that the money was gone or the dawning realization that someone I trusted took it. And they didn't even tell me. I sat on my bed staring at the screen for maybe an hour. Then I printed the statements. I didn't even know who I was angrier at, them or myself for not seeing it sooner. The next morning, I waited until both of them were in the kitchen. My mom was rinsing dishes and my dad was sitting at the table halfway through his cereal. I didn't waste time. Did either of you take money from my savings account? They both looked up, startled. My mom turned off the faucet. What money? She asked, too casually. The down payment account, I said. There were 2 transfers. $12,000. Gone. My dad's spoon clinked against the bowl. There was a pause, maybe 2-3 seconds, and then my mom said it like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. We used it to help Lauren. I just stood there, waiting for the punchline. She needed a fresh start, my dad added. She's been through so much these last few years. And she got that opportunity to travel, to figure herself out. I stared at them. I couldn't believe it. You took my money. Your family, my mom said quickly, like that made it better. She's your sister. It's not like we spend it on ourselves. I was shaking. Literally shaking. You didn't ask. You would have said no, she said, her tone suddenly sharper. And we didn't want to start a fight. Right? So instead they just stole it. They looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. Like I was the problem for caring. I didn't yell. I didn't even curse. I just walked out of the room. And I didn't talk to either of them for 3 days. A few days after that kitchen conversation, or whatever that was, I came home from work to find an envelope on my bed. Inside was a pastel invitation card with gold lettering. Bon voyage, Lauren. Below it, join us for food, drinks, and family as we send our girl off on the journey of a lifetime. The party was in 2 weeks. At our house, with a guest list that, apparently, included all our extended relatives, a few of Lauren's friends, and some people I hadn't seen since high school. No note. No apology. Just an invitation like everything was fine. I almost laughed. The level of audacity was unreal. They had just taken the majority of my savings, money I'd worked years for, and now they were throwing a catered backyard party to celebrate the person they took it for. And they expected me to come. To smile. Maybe even give a toast. I tossed the invitation onto my desk and stared at it for a long time. And that's when the idea started forming. Not revenge exactly. Not yet. But something colder. Something sharp. If they wanted a party. Fine. They'd get one they'd never forget. I didn't say a word to anyone about what I was planning. For the next 2 weeks, I kept my head down. Went to work. Ate in my room. Avoided the common spaces. I didn't even look Lauren in the eye. She, of course, was glowing. Walking around the house in new outfits. Showing off her travel itinerary to Mom. Talking about Bali, Barcelona, and how freeing it feels to finally live without limits. I wondered if she had any idea where the money came from. Part of me hoped she didn't. But the cynical part of me, the part that had watched our parents bail her out since we were kids, knew better. I made a folder on my laptop. I gathered everything. The bank statements. Screenshots. Timeline. Notes. I printed a few clean pages and tucked them in a neutral-looking envelope. Then I printed one extra copy, sealed in another envelope, and hid it in my glove box. Just in case. The day of the party arrived. The backyard was decked out with white folding chairs, string lights, and a ridiculous balloon arch that said Bon Voyage, like she was sailing off to war instead of taking a 6-month vacation funded by theft. People were everywhere. Laughing. Drinking. My parents were glowing, the proud hosts. And Lauren was already 3 glasses into whatever cocktail she'd mixed in the kitchen. I kept to the sidelines, nodding when people greeted me, sipping on water, waiting. Waiting for the right moment. And when my dad picked up the microphone to give his little send-off speech, I knew exactly when that would be. My dad tapped the mic a couple of times and grinned at the crowd like he was about to deliver a TED Talk. People quieted down, gathered near the patio where he stood beside Lauren, who was positively glowing in a white sundress like she was the bride at her own departure. He launched into the usual sentimental fluff. How proud they were. How Lauren had always followed her heart. How some people take the road less traveled and Lauren builds her own road. I felt my jaw clench so tight I thought I might crack a tooth. My mom stood beside him, teary-eyed. Like she hadn't gutted my savings account just to bankroll this grand journey of self-discovery. When he wrapped up, people clapped. A few even cheered. Then my mom gently nudged Lauren forward and she took the mic with a giggle. I just want to say thank you to everyone, she beamed. Especially my parents. You always believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. This trip, it's going to change everything. The applause came again, polite and glowing. That's when I stepped forward. Calm. Quiet. I didn't ask for the mic. I didn't need it. I raised my voice just enough and said, I'd like to say something too since I helped pay for it. There was laughter at first, confused, awkward chuckles. They thought it was a joke. Until I held up the envelope. Since we're thanking people, I said, looking straight at Lauren, I figured everyone here should know how this trip really got paid for. And then I opened the envelope. And started reading. I unfolded the first page and held it up for everyone to see. This is my bank statement, I said. My voice was steady louder now. This account was for my down payment. I've been saving into it every month for over 2 years. People were staring. A few shifted uncomfortably. My aunt coughed. My dad's smile had completely disappeared. I flipped the page. On the 15th of last month, there were 2 transfers, one for $8,000. Another for 4. Both were labeled as authorized. But here's the thing, I didn't authorize them. The silence grew heavier. Even Lauren's drunk smile was gone now. She looked frozen. Her eyes darted toward our mom, then to Dad. I kept going. I didn't spend that money. I didn't lose it. It didn't go into a retirement fund or to pay for a medical emergency. I turned slightly toward Lauren. It went to you. She opened her mouth, but I kept talking. My parents took $12,000 from the account I'd been building since I moved back home. without asking, without telling me. And they gave it to you, so you could find yourself. I wasn't yelling. I didn't need to. I looked out at everyone, family, friends, cousins, neighbors, all of them awkwardly staring down into their plastic cups. And now we're all here, celebrating that. No one clapped this time. I finished reading, folded the paper slowly, and looked back at my parents. My dad was pale. My mom's mouth was open like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Lauren looked like she'd just been slapped. Then the murmuring started. It wasn't loud, but it spread like wildfire. My uncle leaned over to whisper to his wife. My cousin shot me a look that was half shocked, half impressed. One of Lauren's friends muttered, "Wait, what?" I turned to the crowd one last time. "I just thought everyone deserved to know," I said, "since we're celebrating transparency and support." And then I walked off the patio. I didn't slam anything. Didn't make a scene. I just left the envelope sitting on the edge of the table. Behind me, I could hear my mom calling my name, quiet at first, then louder. But I didn't stop. I went in my room, closed the door, and sat down on the edge of my bed. 15 minutes later, I heard a car leave. Then another. The party was over. No yelling. No cake. No final toast. Just silence. Exactly what they gave me when they decided my goals didn't matter. The next morning, the house was tense. Quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful, more like everything had been vacuum sealed and no one knew how to break the seal. I came downstairs around 10. My mom was at the table, staring into her coffee. My dad wasn't even in the room. She looked up at me like she hadn't slept. "You humiliated us," she said softly. Not apologized. Not explained. Just accused. I didn't answer. "What were you trying to prove?" she went on. "That your sister doesn't deserve a chance?" I finally spoke. "No. I was trying to prove that I deserve basic respect." She flinched at that. "Lauren didn't know," she said after a moment, lowering her voice like that made it better. "We told her it came from family savings. That didn't make it better. If anything, it made it worse. So they lied to her too." "Then maybe you should have used your own money," I said, "instead of draining mine behind my back." She looked like she might cry. But I didn't feel bad. Not this time. Later that day, Lauren slipped a note under my door. No knock. No attempt to talk. Just a folded piece of paper. I didn't know. I swear. I never would have taken it if I had. That was it. No offer to return the money. No apology. Just denial and a shrug, written in loopy cursive like it was middle school. I didn't write back. I was done being the understanding one. Over the next few days, the house became a cold war zone. We barely spoke. Meals were separate. Doors stayed shut. Even the dog seemed on edge. Lauren left for her trip 2 days after the party. No goodbye. No knock on my door. I watched her suitcase roll down the driveway from my window, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel anything. No anger. No jealousy. Just emptiness. She posted a selfie from the airport a few hours later. New chapter. Freedom. $12,000 bought her that freedom. Meanwhile, I was redoing my entire savings plan. Cutting everything again. Working overtime. Canceling plans. My parents never offered to pay me back. Not once. One night, I left a piece of paper on the kitchen table, a breakdown of how long it would now take me to hit my down payment goal at this new rate, assuming nothing else went wrong. It ended with a question. "Do you still think this was fair?" It stayed there for a day and a half. Then it disappeared. No response. Not a word. That silence became the answer. So I made a choice. I started looking for a way out. Not just from the house, but from them. I didn't announce it. I didn't make some grand statement. I just quietly started packing. I moved the most important things first: documents, tech, the folder with all the financial records. Then clothes, books, piece by piece, every evening after work, into my trunk. I signed a lease on a small one-bedroom apartment in a quieter part of town. Not what I wanted originally, not the condo I'd been aiming for, but it was mine. I paid first and last month's rent out of what was left in my checking account. Barely enough to cover it, but I didn't care. The night before I left, I sat in my room and just looked around. All the years in that house. All the birthdays, holidays, silent sacrifices. All the times I thought being the reliable one meant something. That it counted for something. Didn't. That was the lesson. I left early the next morning before anyone woke up. No dramatic confrontation. No note. Just silence, the same kind they'd given me when they emptied my account. I didn't block them. I didn't make some social media post. I just left. And it felt good. Not easy. Not victorious. But clean. 3 days after I moved out, I got a text from my mom. "We noticed some of your things are gone. Are you okay?" "No, we're sorry." No mention of the money. Just a vague, passive check-in. Like they hadn't pushed me out of my own home. I didn't reply. The next day, my dad called. I let it go to voicemail. He sounded irritated. "We need to talk about how you left. That was immature, son. You don't just disappear like that over a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. They took $12,000 I earned behind my back, gave it to someone else, and threw a party about it, and now I was the problem for leaving? That call confirmed everything I already knew. They weren't sorry. They just missed the convenience of me being there. The extra income. The calm son who never caused a scene. Lauren sent me another DM a week later. This one longer. "I seriously didn't know. I thought mom and dad were helping me with their money. I'm sorry if it came from yours. But you kind of blew it up and made me look like a thief in front of everyone." There it was. Not sorry for what happened. Just sorry it was made public. And with that, I finally knew I wasn't part of this family the way I thought. After that last message from Lauren, I deleted the thread. Didn't respond. Didn't react. I just let it vanish. I stopped checking their socials. Stopped wondering if they'd come around. I didn't want to live in that gray space where you wait for people to finally treat you right. A few relatives reached out in the weeks that followed. Quiet messages. Sideways comments. "Your mom's been really upset. I'm sure it wasn't as bad as it looked. You know how Lauren is." And every time I gave the same answer. They made their choice. I made mine. I never asked for perfection. Just honesty. Respect. A voice when decisions were made that affected me. Instead, they showed me in dollars and silence where I ranked in the family hierarchy. And the truth is, once that becomes clear, there's no going back. Not really. I didn't hate them. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted out of the loop. No more calls. No more visits. No more pretending we were something we weren't. It's been a few months now. The apartment's small, but quiet. I've got a second-hand couch, a wobbly dining table, and a coffee machine that groans like it's dying every morning. But it's mine. Every inch of it. Paid for. Earned. I'm rebuilding my savings slowly. Slower than before, but this time with walls around it, new bank, new passwords, no shared anything. And something unexpected has happened in the silence. I've started to feel calm. Not the numb, hold-it-together calm I used to wear around my family like armor. Real calm. Like I'm finally allowed to breathe without checking who's watching or worrying who's going to need something next. I've also started saying no more. No to guilt. No to manipulation disguised as family loyalty. No to being the dependable one when no one else bothers to be decent. Sometimes I miss the idea of my parents. The version I thought I had. But that version never really existed, not for me. Now I'm learning to stop chasing that version. And build something of my own instead. I used to think being the responsible one meant keeping the peace. Letting things go. Being quiet when something hurt because it's just family. But silence doesn't protect relationships. It just buries resentment until it explodes. The truth is, they didn't take just money from me. They took trust. They took time. They took the version of me who believed that loyalty was a two-way street. And maybe they'll never understand what they did. Maybe they'll keep telling themselves I overreacted, or that I embarrassed them, or that I turned my back on the people who raised me. But here's the thing. I didn't turn my back. I finally stood up. If you're reading this and you feel like the only one in your family who follows the rules, who sacrifices, who holds it all together while everyone else takes and takes, I want you to know something. You're not selfish for wanting boundaries. You're not dramatic for calling out betrayal. And you're not wrong for walking away from people who only show up when it benefits them. Some bridges don't burn. They collapse under the weight of everything you were never allowed to say. Let them fall. And then build something better, just for you.